Hello, how you doing? Welcome to Lecture 2 on the Leisure, Culture and Society module. We will be looking in Lecture 2 at issues in terms of the privatisation of recreational space. And specifically, we will be looking at various perspectives in relation to this processes of privatisation. We'll be looking at, for example, various neo-Marxist traditions that look at the privatisation of recreational space in terms of gentrification and in terms of various forms of aesthetics and also the notion of the spectacle. We'll also be looking at the privatisation of recreational space in terms of the concept of semi-private spaces. And here, the focus here is on commodity and retail capitalism and the way in which the extension of the financial imperatives in terms of retail capitalism have enabled a control of often the surrounded spaces in, for example, arcades of various retail capitalists, commercial spaces. And this extension refers to controlling those that can be present literally outside of these spaces, or those that can be present literally in terms of arcades. So we'll be looking at different perspectives in relation to the privatisation of recreational space and looking at how various groups have challenged these processes of privatisation and tried to reclaim these recreational spaces. Thank you very much for your time.
Session is to introduce Marxist and contrasting perspectives on the privatisation of recreational park space. The content of and structure of the session is as thus. I'll be looking at the privatisation of public space through the increase of semi-public spaces. I'll be looking at the privatisation of public recreational space through marketing and advertising visuality. I'll be looking at privatisation of public recreational space through gentrification. I'll be looking at the privatisation of public recreational spaces in terms of their implications. Okay, so part one.
Salutation, how you doing? I was asked this morning something that actually sort of like has had me thinking about the privatisation of public recreational space. I was asked this morning, whether the Royal Park's mini marathon is an example of the privatisation of public recreational space, and I was initially thought, yeah, obviously it's a space that was previously in public access, has become privatised momentarily for the park run, and then I started to, like always, question and wonder, well, maybe what we've actually got here is the making of a semi-public space, but then at the same time we've got the fact that this park recreational space is owned by the Royal Parks. So basically, my question here is this a further privatisation of public recreational space, or is this the making of semi-public space, or is this just an extension of the Royal Parks Charter to actually provide public recreational space? Okay, I was just thinking about that. Ciao, ciao. Okay, so according to the Royal Parks webpage, the half marathon was created in 2008. Apparently it's the first of its kind. It's a stunning 13.1 mile route through the 4 of the 8 Royal Parks: Hyde Park, Green Park, St James. It was the Royal Parks half marathon was established as an annual fundraising initiative to raise sustainable funds for the Royal Parks and to support London's 8 Royal Parks enabling charities of all sizes to actually be able to use the event to actually raise funds. And this year's half marathon was partly sponsored by Canadian Bank, by the Royal Bank of Canada. According to the Royal Parks website, this is how the money raised is invested in the parks. It says that, quote, "We need to understand that London's beautiful royal parks need their support." It says, according to the website, the money raised by the royal parks through the event, this is their half marathon, helps to keep the magic of the royal parks alive through restoring many of their features, such as their playgrounds, natural world, and caring for wildlife. There is an environmental concern as well. According to the Royal Parks website, there is an aim to be green, with 66% of all waste from the event is recycled, so as to avoid landfill. And so they're working significantly to reduce the amount of waste. It's stated on the Royal Parks website that fundamentally what they're trying to do is to be as, quotation, eco-friendly as possible. There is a charity emphasis in terms of the half marathon, whereby, to quote the Royal Parks website, over the last 20 years, the event has exceeded all expectation in raising 55 million for over 1,000 UK charities, including the Royal Parks and also the charity Mind. So in summary, according to the Royal Parks website, they state that our award-winning event was set up as an annual fundraising initiative raising sustainable funds for the Royal Parks to support London's 8 Royal Parks and enabling charities of all sizes to be involved in a major challenge event. So there is a significant emphasis in the Royal Park half marathon event to actually be sustainable, whereby 66% of the waste produced is ensured not to enter into landfill. According to the Royal Parks Half Marathon website, in their presentation of their partners, the central partner and they describe as event sponsor is Royal Bank of Canada. They also feature Quorn, Sweaty Betty and Tenzing. So in terms of presenting their partner, the Royal Parks states that its event sponsor is Royal Bank of Canada, and then it also has as other features in terms of presenting partners Quorn, Sweaty Betty, Tenzing, and it states that its event partners are Runners Need and Just Giving and JW Marriott. Salutations. Okay, so today is the Hyde Park Mini Marathon, event. And so what's happened is that much of the park has been fenced in to actually allow the runners to actually be able to participate in the event. But the issue here is that what's happened is that this part of Hyde Park normally actually hosts people to be able to express their views, their political, religious, etc. views. And it's a free space for us. And it's a space that has been really, in various ways, preserved and really sort of cherished as a public forum for discussion. However, with the Hyde Park mini marathon, what's actually happened is that this space now has been obviously reduced, enclosed, but it's still available. So my issue in relation to the privatisation of the public recreational space that is Hyde Park, what we might be seeing is a semi-public space. That is a space that is privately owned, but on occasion is quite regularly open for public recreation. And so, in so doing, a classical liberal democratic critique would be that the semi-public privatisation of Hyde Park in this instance has reduced the opportunity for public discourse and engagement, which the classical liberal democratic approach sees as a particular significant feature in recreation, in public recreational space, that they define as being under threat by processes of privatisation and the making of public recreational space semi-public, as it might be argued has happened in respect to the Hyde Park's mini marathon. Hi, sorry, I'm interested. Do you think that the park run has actually disrupted your space to actually be able to talk about the issues that you talk about normally at Hyde Park?
Slightly, but I mean, it's only temporary. It's only 1 week, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we will survive.
Yeah.
We'll survive. But obviously it has. But
In
we'll
what
survive.
ways is it? In what ways?
Well, I mean, just there's not as many people here as there normally would be at this time. For one, there's normally more people. But other than that, it's not that disruptive. Because if people who come here, it's not going to stop them from coming. It's a little bit more. Some people like to go over there. It's just a little less. You can't, having access to the different speakers is not as easy. That's all. But it's not that. It's not. I mean, on a scale from 1 to 10, it's 2.
What does the space mean to you in terms of being able to talk about your issues?
Well, I mean, in this country, I mean, we have the freedom of speech. It means a lot, of course. It's invaluable.
And the freedom of speech that you want to practice, what's the issue you want to share? What's
The issue I want to share.
Yeah.
I want to share.
Yeah.
More specifically, I guess that whether you're good or bad, God loves you. There is a day of judgment. God has no pleasure in killing the wicked, but that's going to be done. God has no pleasure in it. That's essentially why I'm here. And also, there's no such place as hell. There's a one-off. It's a one-off event. There's not a hell, a place where you're burning forever and ever and ever and ever. That's false.
And so our presence here,
Sorry?
so your presence here is about trying to share that message.
Basically, yeah. But there's other little bits that I share as well, just about philosophy and about love.
And are you ever disrupted? Are
I ever-
you ever prevented from sharing your message?
Prevented?
Yeah.
No. You're allowed to say. Prevented in what sense? Prevented?
Told that you shouldn't share it.
By who?
By maybe authorities.
No.
Park
The authorities. Not the authorities. Some people hecklers tell me to shut up or nah. But no, the authorities they don't do that.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
No
Thank
problem.
you. Bye-bye.